Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Thursday night SmackDown review. Yes, I know, to close our NXT review, I said Raw would be next. I forgot about SmackDown because of all the epicness we got just last night. But this SmackDown, I'll tell you.
Yeah, dude, Lucha threw us for a freaking loop because then not only were the closing segments or seconds in the Lucha Underground review you cutting out and me having to tell our audience what you said, but then also in our closing seconds of the NXT review, you said we would do Raw next, and I forgot to correct you and fix for that for our audience. So,
brother, that is not on you. That is
we're
entirely...
both on the worst kind of roll.
Yeah, I mean, that's not on you. That's entirely on me. I accept full responsibility. I do apologize for the botch, but hey, I mean, this SmackDown is worthy of my attention. I thought this was a fun episode. Maybe not the most productive in terms of moving storylines forward, because I don't really know if it accomplished it that much, and that includes...
I don't think it accomplished anything, to be fair.
Yeah, you know, I don't even really... But here's the thing, Ashton. I agree with you, but I don't even really levy that as a criticism. I mean, I think you should be going like guns blazing towards Fastlane because this is the road to WrestleMania, but I can't even be too miffed because I think this SmackDown accomplished what any wrestling product should accomplish first and foremost, and that's making your audience have fun. I felt like I had fun, and let me just say, that U.S. title match we got was freaking exceptional to me. I love that match tonight, so I'll be talking about that a little later. I'll be interested to talk to you about that. But yeah, I thought this was a good episode. I mean, what did you think of it? Did you just think it was solid? Did you have any criticisms? Like, where are you feeling? Where are you at?
I think that this was the worst episode of SmackDown that we've reviewed so far this year, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. It just means that, as far as I'm concerned, it was skippable. I think that if the last few episodes of SmackDown were kind of in that territory where, sure, you could miss it if you really wanted to, and if you were kind of dedicated to just watching Raw, but it was better if you watched it because it was better than Raw. This week, I don't really know. I think SmackDown was pretty close to Raw as far as quality goes. Granted, it was shorter, but then also we didn't get as much storyline progression, so there were a lot of compromises tonight.
Yeah, it's interesting because honestly, I can't even really, for this episode, come too hard on SmackDown because I really do feel like lately, these past few weeks, they've been going in the right direction. And I wouldn't say that this episode was a regression. It's just you really didn't move the needle that much, I think is the best way to say it. So, with that said, are you ready to get into our first segment?
Yes.
Heat of the night. And again, like, I'm just kind of mad about the show, but in a good way. I don't have any criticisms or even any nitpicks. I feel like, again, this is just a fun episode of SmackDown. So what about you, Ashton? Any heat of the night? Any nitpicks?
You know, I don't really have any hardcore, like, I hate this kind of moments, but it's starting to feel more and more like the Roman Reigns show. And I know that I've already pointed this out before on Raw and talking about the Rumble, but now it's leaked over into SmackDown, and I haven't really felt that way about SmackDown since we started reviewing it again, and now this was the first time I did. So just as far as nitpicks go, I guess you could call it that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm totally picking up what you're laying down. You've seen me lately, like in personal conversations and on Tweetoff. I am all about Dean Ambrose right now, and it's like, and I make sure to always qualify, like, I like Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns is in an unenviable position right now, because they are saying, like, you're the top babyface, but I do feel that disconnect. To me, he should be cutting thoroughbred promos right now as we speak. And it's a shame because I do think he's a talented guy. I know we have our jokes like, oh, nepotism and all that stuff, but people need to understand sincerely, I like Roman Reigns. I'm rooting for Roman Reigns. It's just I hate what they're doing with him, and I think that's part of the problem, what you just mentioned, this overexposure. I understand that you want to create a top guy, but you got to know when to pull back a little bit. I mean, you know, if you really want a great rant about from me on that kind of subject, just look at what I said about Lucha Underground and their use of Rey Mysterio, or lack thereof, for the first episode in our Lucha Underground review. Because, I mean, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You don't always have to rely on a guy like Roman Reigns. Just have him in the background an episode or two. It's not going to kill anybody. So I completely agree with you. With that said, should we get into the review?
Yeah.
Then let us get right into our Thursday night SmackDown review. And we open up the best way possible with 3 majestic unicorns known as the New Day. And Ashton, I mean, the New Day, they have a bone to pick with The Rock.
Well, they had a bone to pick with The Rock on Monday, and then he kind of referred to the horns on their head as a different kind of bone, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yes, I do, and I think everybody else does as well. And, you know, they kind of, their feathers are ruffled about it here on this SmackDown. They're just saying, you know,
their
shame,
jimmies
shame.
have been rustled.
Definitely. And Big E saying, I know what you're cooking, Rock, a big pot of doo-doo. And, you know, like, they're going hard. I mean, you know, when you say that, I mean, it's getting serious. I mean, you're going full-blown war right here. So they are really bringing it to The Rock. But then the Miz's music hits, which I find ironic because his whole thing lately is he hates being interrupted, and yet he cuts off the New Day here. But he actually cuts them off to support them, says, hey, I feel your pain. You know, I'm an A-list movie star here. The Rock is asking me, you know, park his truck. Like, what? I'm the Miz, damn it, more or less is what he says. And he's just like, you know, I'm with you. You know, The Rock was out of control. But then they all get interrupted by the Usos, who, of course, you know, because family and all that stuff. And they pretty much just, you know, laugh in the face of the New Day like, yeah, that's great, guys. Do you think The Rock was so mean to you and everything? And then it doesn't really take long for this whole thing to just break down and go from words to fists now, does it?
No, and of course, you know, we can't just leave it at the Usos. We also get Titus O'Neil and Dolph Ziggler, and this becomes an 8-man tag.
Yeah, an 8-man tag that, you know, just to get right into it, I mean, I had fun with it, but again, like, and I don't even say this again negatively, just surprised. I feel like Titus O'Neil is getting a mini push because he got the winning pin here, if I'm not mistaken, clashing with Titus on The Miz.
Yeah, we got a Dolph Ziggler super kick, and then, I don't even remember. Was it The Miz? You said The Miz.
Yes.
Yeah, so then, Dolph Ziggler super kick, and then Miz just kind of lands right in Titus's lap as he manages to hit him with Clash of the Titus and get the win. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. And here's the thing, like, I always feel kind of odd saying something about it because I don't want people to misinterpret my dislike of Titus O'Neil as racism because, like, I just can't stand Titus O'Neil. You know, it's got nothing to do with race because there are a lot of acts that I like regardless of race, and Titus O'Neil I've just never liked. I mean, you go back to his freaking NXT promo where he first did the whole make it a win thing, and like I've just seen him as worthless ever since then, and even now, like, he's been around for 5-6 years and he's still not good in the ring. He literally has 2 things that he does in the ring that work, and those are, you know, he catches somebody and then does the knee drop and then throws them, and then the Clash of the Titus, and that's it. That's just the extent of what he does. Like, he is, at 38 years old, worse in the ring than, like, Batista was at 35 when he debuted.
And, you know, Ashton, that right there, what you just said, is where I take issue with Titus, because honestly, I could forgive all the other, like, grievances that you have, because you and I, in our years of watching wrestling, we've experienced guys that are just awful in ring or awful in this department, but yet they still get over, they still connect, and you're just thinking, well, if they're over, you might as well run with it. But that's my thing with Titus is, how much mileage are you going to get when the guy's 38? You know, and here's the thing for people that may say, well, this guy's 38, that one, but they already have that established name brand. Like, you look at AJ Styles, he's 38, but he's AJ freaking Styles. Like, he's built up that brand. You know what I mean? Titus has no brand.
And
so,
I think the biggest difference is actual talent level as far as in-ring goes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't even need to touch that, dude. Like, that goes without saying. Like, I think that's just known immediately. But I'm saying, like, I could even forgive the gaps in Titus's in-ring ability because apparently he does have this connection with the crowd if I knew we could get some kind of mileage out of it, but he's already got 1 foot out the door. You know what I mean? So I think that's where I take issue. But regardless, I don't know where this push is going to go with Titus, if anywhere at all. I mean, hell, maybe if this push continues, you and I will even be talking about him, as reluctant as we may be about it, as a potential winner of the armbar this year, because that's really as high as I could see this push going. I don't see him winning any championships, but then again, I've been proven wrong before. So I just find it interesting that he is getting more wins lately. He is being featured more. You know, he did say when he got eliminated from the Rumble, they did a fallout video with him. He did say he was going to be WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I, of course, highly doubt that. I don't even regard that. But there's something in store for him here, I think. So I'm just keeping an eye on Titus O'Neil. So, yeah, fun matchup. And,
I kind of have to wonder why he's getting this solo push and Darren Young is nowhere to be seen. Whatever happened to PTP?
It Darren, well, I can't even say that Darren's injured because we saw him on the Rumble pre-show tagging with Sandow of all people.
And that's not that's not the only thing. Like, I feel like I'm sorry, I said Sandow because you said his name, but Young, I feel like he's the more entertaining between the two of them.
Well, Darren Young, I love his look, and I do think he's got better charisma and personality than Titus O'Neil. Like, Darren Young, it's a shame because I always saw him as, like, that very reliable kind of mechanic. Like, I could have seen him with an IC title run a few years back or a U.S. title run, and they just never really pushed the trigger on him being that solid mid-card hand. Same with Titus, because of that connection he has and because of his stature and everything, I could have seen him with maybe like just one IC title run or something, but, the idea that they're pushing him now, and I don't know how serious this push is, it definitely raises an eyebrow, and I don't know where Darren Young is, because it's a shame that he can't get in on this in his own right, but, what can you do, I guess?
Yeah. All right, well, I feel like we've talked enough about Titus O'Neil. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay, so up next, we had our second match of the night. If there was anything that happened in between some of this stuff that I forget to mention, I apologize. I did take notes, but I was also not paying complete attention the entire time because, like I said, this SmackDown really felt skippable to me, so I didn't pay attention the whole time. But our second match of the night was the U.S. title match that you were referring to earlier, Kalisto versus Neville. And this was a really fun match, but it was also a little bit on the awkward side because it was face versus face, and like the SmackDown crowd didn't really know who to cheer for.
That is true, and I think that is always problematic, but damn, did these guys go in there and put in the work. Like, yeah. I loved the spots that they did here, especially, like, in the early going, when Kalisto does the Hurricane Rana to Neville and his back hits the barricade hard. Like, that was like, okay, this is next level. And then when Kalisto tries a springboard maneuver, but Neville catches him in the sit-out powerbomb, like, they really went out. And this match was when I messaged you personally because I think I was at you because you always watch it on TV, and me, because I don't have cable, I have to rely on streams. Again, we're making, all kinds of statements tonight, and now this one may get me in some controversy, and I don't mean any disrespect to Rey Mysterio or his fans, but I think one of the biggest advantages that Kalisto is going to have over Rey Mysterio when you compare careers when both these guys are all said and done, Kalisto's finishes to his matches are never contrived. And yeah. I love that. And I know, Ashton, that's the biggest thing that you've had against Rey Mysterio for years. It's the drop kick to the knee or the Hurricane Rana into the middle rope or just some kind of setup where they're on the middle rope, you do the 619, you do whatever. With Kalisto, because that finisher, the Salida del Sol, has that kind of spontaneity, that kind of out-of-nowhere element, there's no, like, setup, there's no groaning, like, okay, go through the motions, because he can hit it out of nowhere, and I love that. I think Neville was trying to go for a German or some type of suplex, and Kalisto had the head locked, and yeah, he got Salida del Sol. With The Miz on Monday, he used the ropes, got his feet on the ropes, and he propelled himself off the ropes while in the full Nelson position, got the Salida del Sol that way. This is a guy that finds creative ways to get his finisher off, and that's going to get the crowd to pop when they see it coming. It's going to have almost like that RKO effect, I would think. Yeah. And I think that's going to serve Kalisto very well as a champion, and especially as an underdog kind of babyface character. So I think he's got the one thing right that Rey Mysterio, I don't really want to say got wrong, because that's always been his finish, but he's doing that whole thing better than Rey has in his whole career.
Well, so I would say that it is something that Rey Mysterio got wrong, because to me, when you're a wrestler, you never want to give anybody ammo to say anything bad about you, and especially when you're a babyface. Obviously, Kevin Owens, if he messes up, he can just be like, oh yeah, what are you going to do about it? And just heal it up. But for a babyface, you never want to give people that ammunition. And with Rey, one of the biggest pieces of ammunition that I've heard, and it's not just me, but that I've heard against Rey Mysterio is, I hate the 619 because it never makes sense the way that he sets up for it, because it takes me out of it, because it makes me, stop suspending my disbelief, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not just a me thing. That's something that I do agree with, but it's not an opinion that I started by any means.
Right, absolutely. And I think, too, because Kalisto's already shown that he can hit this move on the likes of guys like Sheamus as well. Now, I don't know if
I think that the best part about the move is that it's something that he can do to anyone. Honestly, let's be real, he could do that to the Big Show.
And I was even going to say, I don't know how I would stack up against the likes of like a Big Show or a Braun Strowman, but yeah, I think you're right. I think he probably could hit it because really it's a momentum-based finisher. If you can get the momentum going, yeah, and topple those big guys.
And the best part about it, like you said, it's very RKO-esque. And to take it even a step further, it's got the same setup as an RKO. That reverse kind of headlock setup that you get with like an RKO is the same thing with the Salida del Sol. So yeah, I mean, Kalisto's an incredibly talented wrestler, but I think the most important thing is he has a finisher that he can use for his entire career.
Yes.
And no one's going to complain about it, and it's well protected, and it just flat out works. So yeah, thumbs up for that.
Yeah, great title matchup. I'm loving Kalisto's babyface. Very intrigued what he's going to do at WrestleMania this year. I think, because you know that you and I in conversation, I don't know if we ever take these conversations to TWitWoW, but I always kind of run down the guys that I'm most intrigued to watch them embark on their road to WrestleMania. And I think Kalisto's the first name you can add to my personal list this year, because just him being U.S. champion and him just things like really coming together for his character and just everything else. I'm very intrigued, like, what title defense he's going to have, what's going to happen. You know, it's a shame that John Cena's injured, because with how much he's talked about John Cena and John Cena supporting Kalisto, that's one matchup I'd actually really enjoy seeing, and I think it'd be a great rub for Kalisto personally, but that's just me. So we'll see what Kalisto does, and yeah, we can move on if you want.
All right, well, up next, we had a talking segment. We had the highlight reel, Chris Jericho's big talk show segment, with Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. Dean Ambrose comes out with, a pot of flowers for some reason, and then Roman Reigns comes out and they do this kind of weird thing where they talk about how the highlight reel needs a little bit better set, and Ambrose brings out the flowers and Reigns grabs a stool and they set the flowers on the stool. I don't really know what the point of this was, but then Jericho brings it back down to earth and talks about how these guys are friends, but on whenever it is, a few Sundays away at Fastlane, they're going to have to fight each other. And what happens when that bell rings? And I love Dean Ambrose's reaction here. He said, I'm going to punch him right in the mouth. That was awesome.
Yeah, and he kind of had similar sentiments. I think you watched it because you did say that you saw my Tweetoff post, that whole interview with Michael Cole, which if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go on WWE's YouTube channel and watch that. That is some of Dean Ambrose's best mic work, at least in my opinion. He's really got a lot of momentum since that whole
It was phenomenal. Yeah, that was, I think that was like a really good sort of spiritual successor to his amusement park promo from last Thursday.
Yeah, he's been on a roll lately, like in all departments. I'm telling you, he's cooking, man. He's really cooking right now. And just, I love that. And that then they kind of joke about game plans, about how Roman Reigns is going to just duck a little bit because he knows he's going to aim for the face and, get the forehand instead. And, oh, well, you're giving my game plan away. So they've got this jovial nature. I'm still, like I said in my Raw request, I would love to see Dean go through some adversity, drop that Intercontinental Championship, maybe even play up some tension. I'm not asking for a severance, but play up some tension between Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, because Brock Lesnar isn't going to be on TV. He may be on TV 1 week, maybe the go-home week, maybe a week prior, but my point being that Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns are going to be carrying this program, so you've got to give everything you've got to really gain interest when only 2/3 are really representing it, and of course probably Paul Heyman too when he's available. So, I'm hoping when they do that. I did like this, but then it didn't take long for the Wyatt family to interrupt. And, Bray Wyatt, comes out. I think he's pretty much just laughing in the face of these guys. That whole anybody but you, Roman kind of crap, and just, Brock Lesnar and how they're just the apocalypse. And then Roman Reigns says, well, if you've got an issue, why don't you come in here and settle it? So Roman Reigns throws on the gauntlet for a fight. And I think that's how we get a 6-man tag match for later. But that's the main event. That didn't happen now, but that's how we get that whole match set up as the main event of SmackDown tonight.
Yeah. I loved the interplay between Ambrose and Reigns here, but I will say that this was another case of Reigns being a cartoon character rather than being the Samoan badass that everyone kind of wants him to be.
Yeah, and I appreciate that these guys are friends. I have loved their friendship on TV. I think they have a lot of great moments together, but it's okay to take this moment seriously. You're talking about a main event at WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
I think Dean did. He said something that could make people laugh, but he said it in a serious tone at least.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I loved his closing remark, when Michael Cole asked him, what are you going to do, when it's you and Roman Reigns, what are you going to say to him on, I don't know, Thursday or what? I think he even said Thursday. And he said, I'll see you in Ohio, brother, because that's where Fastlane is. Yeah. And that's just it for Dean Ambrose. And again, like, I hate to keep, riding the Dean Ambrose wagon here, but, like, I'm loving what he's doing right now, man. I feel like, to me, if I was plopped in front of the TV for the first time and I had no prior knowledge of anything going on, I would think this was Dean Ambrose's story with how he's playing this, because he is playing it so straight and so serious. You would think, like, yeah, when he talked about it being intoxicating, like, I'm sorry, I'm rooting for this guy, and I know this is Roman's story, and I should be rooting for him, but Dean, in just a few, I can't even say a few short weeks, because it really just started at Rumble. That's when this whole thing really spiraled out of control. In just a short amount of time, Dean has garnered all my sympathy that they have tried for months and months for me to give to Roman Reigns. It's no comparison here.
Yeah, it's really not even close, like you said, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Dean's build has been completely organic. Like, it's almost like the WWE hasn't even really been trying to build Dean, but because they've been building Roman so much, Dean has kind of gotten a supplemental build to kind of back Roman up, and people are getting behind Dean more because it feels less forced.
Exactly. And see, that's the thing with WWE. They only get it right, it seems like, when it's a complete accident. Because I feel like Bryan...
Yeah, that even goes back to the Daniel Bryan build. The only reason that they were, quote-unquote, smart, and that's hard, air quotes, smart enough to capitalize on his popularity was because of pop culture. Because Triple H talked Vince McMahon on a frickin' plane from one show to another that this whole yes movement thing is really catching on and that they should do something about it. Like, it took a college basketball game with Yes Chance for Vince to finally snap out of it and realize, oh, maybe this Daniel Bryan kid does deserve a little bit more of an opportunity to be a big deal than just, what we've been giving him. And, like, even that year, the plan the whole time was Bryan versus Sheamus at Mania, and it ended up because of, audibles, basically, it ended up with Bryan main eventing the show, and WrestleMania 30 is going to go down as one of the top 5 to 10 WrestleManias of all time now because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems like WWE only gets it right when it's purely an accident. Yeah. And I'm looking at Dean...
Or if it's not an accident, it's because their hand was forced.
Exactly. And I look at Dean Ambrose, and I'm sorry, like, I'm already going to apologize in advance to you and to our listeners, because I can tell you that when we get closer to Fastlane, I'm just going to get more and more agitated that this isn't Dean Ambrose's story and that it's Roman Reigns'. I can already feel it for me. So I apologize in advance if they're like, oh, John, come off it. I'm really sorry, but I can't help when I look at it to be agitated, because I'm thinking this man's getting screwed. This man is doing the best work he's done right now as a babyface, and he will have nothing to show for it.
And you know what? I actually had somebody ask me today on Twitter what I would think of a Dean Ambrose heel turn. And while I would never obviously blame that fan for asking that question, because it's a perfectly logical question to ask, I'm offended that the WWE has even set up a situation where that's a question that's logical to ask. Because to me, Dean Ambrose is such an amazing babyface right now that to turn him heel would be the most counterproductive thing you could do. And don't get me wrong, I am a huge Dean Ambrose fan, and I love him as a heel. So it's not like I wouldn't be able to get behind Dean Ambrose turning heel, but the timing of it is awful if they decide to go through with that. To me, Roman Reigns is the one that should be turning heel, but as we've already discussed, for them to turn him heel would be them admitting that they were wrong to get behind him in the first place, which means it's never going to happen.
And that whole explanation, and I'm not even going to add anything to that, but that whole explanation perfectly articulated why I'm so pissed off. So we can move on.
What were we? Oh, yeah, we were talking about the
highlight reel.
Right, which ended up setting up the main event. But then up next, the Social Outcasts were out, cutting a promo, talking about AJ Styles eliminating Curtis Axel from behind. Who even does that? What are you? You're not even a real man. And, of course, then we get AJ Styles music, and we have a match on our hands, Curtis Axel versus AJ.
Where the biggest thing to take away from this, he finally hits the Styles Clash.
Finally!
So for anybody that's been having that itch, when's AJ going to get it off? He did it here, and honestly, I may be in the minority camp here because I saw a lot of people actually feel the other way. I'm glad they didn't drag this out until like a Fastlane or Mania. I'm glad this is on SmackDown. They established it on TV because honestly...
I wish it would have been on Raw. I don't understand why he couldn't beat Jericho clean with it.
I do agree with you there. I do feel like Raw would have been the best place because I do think it should have been TV for one, and obviously it should have
You
been Raw.
want to do it in front of the biggest audience possible, though. That's the thing.
Exactly. And, to me, it would have just been ludicrous to have Curtis Axel, after everything he endured, still find a counter to the Styles Clash. Because I wouldn't have believed it, and I would have crapped all over it, guaranteed. Yeah. So, got that Styles Clash. Nice victory there for AJ Styles. And really, that was my biggest talking point for the matchup. So if you want to move on, we can. I don't know.
But one thing I will say is it does seem like he kind of struggled a little bit to actually get the Clash on Axel. I don't know if that was on Axel for not really knowing how to take it because he hasn't taken it yet, or if it was on AJ for, kind of struggling to adapt to the size difference between everywhere else he's ever worked in the WWE. But, yeah. I mean, you would imagine, like, he's gotten Samoa Joe up for the Clash. I'm not really sure why he wouldn't be able to get Curtis Axel up for it.
Right, exactly.
So maybe it was just an awkward moment for a moment.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right, so up next, we had Charlotte versus Natalya. In between these segments, before we went to a commercial, we saw Charlotte walking through the hallway with her father, presumably on the way to the ring. But then we get the match, Charlotte and Natalya, a repeat of one of the best NXT women's matches ever. And of course, it didn't live up to it, but it wasn't bad by any means.
It wasn't bad, and maybe you can call me out for being too harsh on my criticism here. I did have one nitpick of the match, though.
Okay.
I felt like Natalya stayed in the figure eight way too long before tapping out. Like, it just kind of annoyed me.
So why didn't you bring that up during our heat of the night?
Because I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like it seemed like a stupid nitpick, but I did want to air my grievance regardless. Like, that is one thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't think it was, big enough to make a production out of it, even in our opening segment. Right. But yeah, I just felt like it was a bit too prolonged for me. Maybe I'm just being ridiculous, because a babyface should look strong, but, I mean, Charlotte is the heel right now. She is the champion, and it's not like Natalya's really had this kind of build-up or anything. So I don't know. But, she ultimately did tap out. I just felt like, it kind of lingered on a little bit. And, chop block preceded it because Ric Flair did the distraction, so they're still building up Charlotte as a heel. And then the post-match assault where she gets Natalya back in the figure four, but then Becky Lynch makes the save. I like that. I like that it wasn't Sasha interrupting, trying to getting a measure of revenge, because it keeps Becky in the fold, and you're always kind of wondering what Sasha's going to do next. So I felt like everything about this really was played perfectly, except for that one minute nitpick that I have, which really could just be on me, so...
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the figure eight has been established. I don't know if I honestly, I didn't even really pay enough attention to notice that she was in it for an exceptionally long time, but I will say that afterwards, the screaming that she was doing while she was in the figure four was horribly just fake sounding. Like it sounded like a person that's never acted a day in their life went to an audition thinking that they were auditioning for a comedy movie, and then they found out during the audition that it was for a horror movie, and they had to do a horror scream, and that's the result of it.
Yeah, in other words, Natalya, you're still awful. I mean, in-ring work is solid, but as far as, character goes and emoting and body language...
She's still a heart. Put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, being a heart just doesn't cut it there, so there you go.
Yeah. All right, well... Do we want to move on? Oh, no, obviously we have to talk about what happened then, because she was in the figure four. Becky Lynch comes out for the save.
Right, yeah, like I said, Becky Lynch comes out for the save. Like I said, I really like that because it wasn't Sasha trying to get a measure of revenge on Charlotte. This keeps Becky Lynch in the fold. And plus, she's a babyface saving a fellow babyface, so totally logical there. And yeah, I really do like that they're keeping Becky Lynch in the limelight for the moment, because I do think Fastlane's going to be kind of her swan song before they kind of relegate her to whatever, and then it's going to become purely Charlotte Sasha, but I could be wrong about that.
Can we not relegate Becky at all, please?
I would prefer that. I think any sensible person would prefer that because she's amazing.
Maybe Sasha pins Charlotte for the title at Fastlane, and that way Becky has still never been beaten in this feud cleanly.
That's true. We could do that. I mean, we could. I mean, again, I'm begging WWE just one time. Wave at us with your left hand while you deck us with your right, but I'm not holding my breath.
No, it's one of those things, too. Now that Lucha's back, I feel like our cynicism is about to go up tenfold.
I know, right? It's so awful and yet so wonderful because of the reason why.
Yeah.
That paradox, though. So, yeah, I've got nothing else I want to say. If you have anything you want to add, we can move on.
All right, up next, we can talk about the Goldust and R-Truth team segment. You know, I kind of thought this would be Goldust looking for a partner and kind of going from person to person, but now it really does seem like we're going through with this Golden Truth thing.
Golden Truth, baby! I'm still into it. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, yeah, I still thought their first segment was better than this one. Couldn't get into this one as much, but I just got to be honest. I mean, you know what my personality is like when we talk off to you know I'm a weird egg. So seeing Goldust be a weird egg, I dig it. It's good stuff.
It's fully relevant, actually.
Yeah.
Which is just weird.
Exactly. Yeah. I think these two will make a good team. You know, they're a comedy act. And honestly, here's the thing. I could see them getting a tag title run because even though the New Day are champions and they are killing it because they are amazing at everything they do, you know, the tag team division has no depth right now. You know, there is a real lack of legitimate teams. So I could actually see this team. Do I see them beating New Day at Mania? That's a bit of a stretch. I don't know yet. But it's funny that they're bringing these guys together now when we're so close to the show, because we have Fastlane yet, and then we have Mania. So I don't know if they're going to really build these guys up. Or, you know what they're probably going to do, though? We're talking about this. I'm acting like WWE would give it like a solitary tag match, you know, like a one team against one team. It's probably going to be another multi-team matchup, and I could see Golden Truth in the mix at Mania if it's a multi-team kind of matchup. So I'm looking forward to when they finally debut. It's going to be very interesting. And yeah, these guys still put a smile on my face, which I rarely say about WWE's comedy. So clearly these two guys are doing something right.
Yeah. They're entertaining. I just hope that we don't get this like full blown R-Truth still thinks that Goldust is trying to get into a gay relationship with him, because, you know, I think that the joke is that R-Truth never knows what's going on, so he still thinks that Goldust is 1995 gay Goldust.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to do this and get really, like, insensitive, I guess is the word to use.
Yeah, but like almost, I was going to say, yeah, borderline, almost homophobic. You know, stressing borderline, but.
Right. I mean, they've done a reasonably good job so far. But, you know, it's WWE, so you could never really trust them to handle these sensitive subjects with, you know, care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we had another example here where Goldust was stretching and he got stuck and he said, I think my groin needs a massage. And then R-Truth said, no, that's the oldest trick in the book. And then he walked away.
And Goldust's like, I'm serious, man. And he was just kind of stuck there. So, yeah, I mean, I want him to get off the horse soon as well with that whole joke, because I think you're already kind of beating it dead. And you could do other gags. I mean, come on, you've got two great comedic personalities. Like you said, R-Truth, who never knows what's going on, and Goldust, who's just, well, Goldust, you know? So I think there's a lot of comedic possibility there, and you're only scratching the surface with a really tired kind of, you know, joke like this. So let's hope that they do something a bit newer, a bit more fresh in the weeks going forward as they build them finally coming together and debuting as a team.
Yeah. I do agree with you, though. It'll be nice to get an extra tag team in the mix because God knows we need someone to replace the Usos.
Exactly.
So, up next, we had our main event of the evening. Chris Jericho, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns taking on the team of Bray, Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Erick Rowan. Yet again, the Wyatt family are in a match, and Braun is the one being protected by not even competing in the match. So, curious case there. Match really was decent, but it wasn't super long, and it ended up ending because of Braun. He interfered, and it caused a disqualification.
Let me ask you something, Ashton.
Sure.
I don't want to get ahead of myself because it actually does kind of tie into the post-match. Have you heard the recent rumors about Braun Strowman?
No.
What's going on? They're actually, and I think the post-match somewhat, and I really, to use your term earlier, hard air quotes around somewhat, lends credence to it. The plan, from what I understand, for Braun Strowman, he's going to have a match with Big Show at Fastlane.
I like that.
And he's going to readily handle Big Show. But apparently they're setting up Braun Strowman for The Undertaker this year.
Oh, what?
That's what I read. Strowman Undertaker, WrestleMania 33. Here's the thing. Let me just say right now, I don't buy it. But
where did you read that?
No DQ. You know that's my primary source.
Where did they put a source where they got it?
I could look real quick if you want to take the ball here and kind of talk about the post-match and stuff while I look real quick.
Yeah, well, I was honestly thinking that they were maybe going to be setting up for Braun versus Big Show at Mania, not at Fastlane.
Yeah, well, that's what I read, is that it's gonna be Fastlane, and then they're setting up Undertaker and Braun Strowman for WrestleMania 33. Okay, here it is. No, they don't. Actually, wait, Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer.
Huh.
Yeah, that's that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You know
So
what?
what are we thinking
I'm
here?
calling them out. I am calling No DQ out right now because I listened to the episode that you're probably freaking referring to of the Wrestling Observer, and at no point did. First of all, Alvarez isn't the reporter. Meltzer is the reporter, and Alvarez was speculating because he said, I don't know if they're maybe trying to build Strowman up for The Undertaker, and then he proceeded to tear that idea down, talking about how horrible of an idea it was and how bad of a match it would result in. So no DQ. That's not actually a thing. That was speculation on Brian Alvarez's part.
All right, well, fair enough. And see, that's what shoddy journalism get you. That's why whenever we reference dirt sheets here on TWitWoW, always know that we take it with a grain of salt.
Well, and that's why I always try and figure out the source, because to me, if it's not coming from a credible source, I'm usually able to identify that pretty quickly, just like what I just did. And
right.
That's, like you said, shoddy journalism at its best. So what was the name of that article, just so that I can check it out, because I have No DQ pulled up here.
Possible opponent for The Undertaker at WrestleMania, I believe it
was.
Oh,
wow, it's actually really recent. So, Brian Alvarez reported, that's, oh my God, that's, I mean, I buy into the Big Show thing, but I personally think that it would be smarter for them to just build Braun up to win the armbar this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the armbar is perfect for Braun Strowman, and honestly, I can get behind Big Show Braun Strowman at Fastlane. That I can sink my teeth into.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, anytime Braun and Big Show face off in the ring, people lose their mind. Like, you can listen to the crowd at the Royal Rumble when it happened. They lost it. That is like the ultimate clash of the titans right there. And that's the closest you're ever going to get anymore, because nobody that big comes along anymore.
Right. So I'm fully on board with that. Strowman, Undertaker, I mean, we've already seemingly debunked it here, thanks to Ashton calling him out. I mean, but I don't know. I think armbar for Strowman this year, definitely. But the reason we're even talking about this, the post-match sees, Wyatt family really brawling with Ambrose, Rowan, and Jericho. Big Show comes out and more or less evens up the odds. So this is his, babyface turn that's going to last however long before he turns heel again. We're going through that. And they clean house, and the babyfaces stand tall. So, Jericho, Ambrose, Reigns, and Big Show to close the show, and that's pretty much how we round out SmackDown.
So do we think that that's going to end up being an 8-man tag main event on Raw?
Definitely. You could telegraph that, brother.
Yeah, sad as it may be. Maybe they'll make it. I mean, I shouldn't assume that the WWE is ever going to take an extra step to make something interesting, but maybe they'll take an extra step to make this interesting and make it an elimination match.
Maybe, but then again,
yeah, exactly. It's not gonna.
You're not Lucha Underground, so again, that's cynicism, though.
It's just beginning too.
Yeah. So with that said, you want to move on to our next segment?
Yep, go for it.
All right, high spots and low shots. I'm just gonna be real direct. My low shot is Neville. Had an opportunity at the United States Championship, winning his first.
Did we ever find out how he earned that opportunity? Because it seemed pretty out of the blue that he would just randomly get a U.S. title match on SmackDown.
I guess maybe they thought he was stringing up wins lately, but he never really had a formal number one contendership match or whatever. So maybe it's like, oh, Neville's been on a roll recently kind of thing. So
maybe they're just kind of trying
he
to
did lose this opportunity
on this idea that anything can happen on SmackDown because of the one time since the turn of the year that a title changed hands on SmackDown.
Yeah, that very well could be. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Oh, hey guys, what happened on SmackDown earlier this year? You should tune in tonight because it might happen again.
Exactly, man. Just like that.
Yeah.
So, Neville's my low shot. Who's your low shot?
My low shot is the New Day, because they lost to Titus O'Neil tonight and they didn't even get pinned in it. So there you go.
Yeah, that's
Honorary low shot goes to Natalya because she lost and then got tortured.
Yeah, but as far as the New Day goes, I put my unicorn horn up in solidarity with the New Day. They will bounce back from this.
Of course
they will.
Yeah.
So my high spot, with that said, I guess I'll continue along the same vein. Kalisto. He said in a Royal Rumble Fallout video on WWE's YouTube channel that this time around at the U.S. title, he was going to hang on to it for a long, long time, and he's already started that journey with a successful title defense.
He's already held it for a longer time than he held it the last time he held it.
Exactly, and already a first title defense under his belt with Neville.
Yep.
Again, very curious what his road to WrestleMania has in store for him, and even before that, Fastlane. I'm hoping he makes the Fastlane card, and I do think he will. So I'm very curious what Kalisto will do there.
I like that, yeah. My high spot is pretty simple. AJ Styles won a match and did so very decisively, being able to hit the Styles Clash for the first time since he showed up in WWE.
Yeah, finally got it done. The phenomenal one keeps on winning, and he's another one that you could add, Kalisto and then AJ Styles, whatever he's going to do at WrestleMania. I'm paying very close attention to AJ's trajectory, and I love the fact that he's your high spot. So with that said, that leaves us with one segment left, 30-second hot seat. And my buns are toasty warm, Ashton. I'm wondering what you got for me this week.
I'm going to make this relatively simple, all right?
All right, give it to me.
Well, the question is going to be simple. I don't know how simple the answer is going to be. That being said, we already saw Kalisto tonight retain his U.S. title against Neville. Who will be Kalisto's next contender for the U.S. title? You have 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
Honestly, because he's been relegated and that's been well established, I could see Sheamus being Kalisto's next challenger. So, Kalisto not out of the woods with the League of Nations, but because Del Rio hates him and, he can't challenge for him anymore because their feud is wrapped up, I think Sheamus is going to do it because he's got that whole bullying mentality, talking down to Dean Ambrose, and now I think he's going to peck on Kalisto because of the whole size differential. So I'm actually thinking Sheamus will be Kalisto's next opponent.
I like that. I have this weird gut feeling that we're going to get a Dolph Ziggler heel turn and he's going to go after Kalisto.
I would not mind that. I thought Dolph's feud with Rey Mysterio over the Intercontinental Championship a few years ago was fantastic. I love their matches. So I think, him and Kalisto could have even better matches, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd be down for that completely.
All right. Well, that was fun. You guys already know now, since that was the 30-second hot seat, that's the question I'm going to ask our people in the comments, our fans in the comments, everyone listening to this. Who do you think is going to be Kalisto's next challenger for the United States Championship? And John, that being asked, take it home.
All right, guys, this has been SmackDown. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. You already know the question for this week, the 30-second hot seat. Who will be Kalisto's next challenger for the United States Championship? Be sure to take the conversation over to Tweetoff. That is Pro Wrestling, is taking over Facebook. A great group of wrestling fans, very passionate about all forms of pro wrestling, WWE, NXT, Lucha Underground, so get your fix there. If you're not feeling it, Ashton's created a TWitWoW subreddit. There you will find all of our TWitWoW content, and you're also empowered with the ability to create threads yourself on all things pro wrestling. Don't forget to go to Teespring and buy the Kevin Owens, because he's a father, damn it, t-shirt, because when Kevin Owens is going to WrestleMania, you want to go with him in style.
And people, you need to buy the t-shirt now. It is limited edition, and the last day to order these t-shirts is not on, a few weeks from now. It's not even next week after we get to plug it in on Raw. It's literally this Sunday. Order the t-shirts by Sunday, or you'll be out in the cold for at least a few months until we decide to put it back up for sale.
Exactly. So, guys, get on it. You want those shirts for WrestleMania season right around the corner. You have till Sunday. Put in those orders, and we will see you again for realsies this time for our Monday Night Raw review. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. LU's gonna blow it out of the water. So until then, tune in and peace out.